This episode of InCamp Podcast is brought to you by Wilderness Athlete, Fuel for the Rugged. I've used Wilderness Athlete products for years. I've tried other ones in between, but Wilderness Athlete is the one that I always keep coming back to because it's the one that flat out works. I've used their multivitamins, their fish oil, their probiotics, their pre-workout, their hydrate and recover. I've used it on elk hunts, in the deer woods, on the water, and everything in between. And honestly, it's the one that truly made a difference in my health and fitness. So if you're looking for a way to support the podcast, there is a link in my bio for Wilderness Athlete. But either way, in the words of Wilderness Athlete, keep up. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to InCamp Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Hepler. Today, I have Dan Johnson, the nine-figure man himself, the biggest BS session master there is, although this episode is not one of those. Dan talks to us about his life and the changes he's made to be a better dad, which in turn also means he's a better hunter, a better person, healthier in general. And we do talk about what it's like getting your kids into hunting and what it means, what you can look forward to in the woods, and the steps that you can take to actually help get them interested. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. It is a really, really fantastic conversation, and I enjoyed it myself greatly. I hope you do too. This is InCamp Podcast. What's going on, buddy? Dan Johnson here, everybody.
How's it going, dude?
I'm good, buddy. It's always good to catch up with you.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we got a break from the heat a little bit. It was hot as balls last week. This week, it kind of tapered off. And, today and tomorrow, we're supposed to be cool or cooler, right? In the 80s, humidity's down a little bit. But then right when I want it to be, right when we're going to state baseball, it's going to be hot as balls again. And so I get to listen to all these kids bitch and complain about how hot it is. I don't want to play. And the only thing I could think of is just like all the money that has been spent throughout the entire season to get these kids right here, right now. Yeah. And then they don't want to play baseball because it's too hot. So
yeah, I hear that, man. It was brutal last week. And I think I don't know if there was anywhere in the country that wasn't.
No,
but it was pretty
hot.
It was pretty wild. I've enjoyed the last couple of days. So I think the last time we caught up, it was on your podcast. And I don't remember if we did like a gear talk or something. We're always talking about something, but I want to talk about why the memories that you build while you're hunting are so important, and kind of, we don't have to like keep it that way the whole time here, but just, I was thinking about some of the stories that I've built over the years and just why they matter now, and kind of what changes in the middle, you know what I mean? Where you go through that, I need to kill everything in sight. And I still like to kill stuff. I love to kill stuff, but I think there are some things that could help the strange trends in hunting that we see, like the hating on each other because you shot a small buck or whatever it happens to be. If we could kind of remind people that middle thing is going to happen to you, and then when you get to a certain point, like we are, like the kill still like killing stuff still matters, but it's just as fun to build those memories.
Yeah. Well, lots to talk about there. So I'm just going to kind of go to the very beginning, and I'm going to take it my own direction and answer the question. Is a lot of people think that you need, dude, remember that time we went to Florida? Remember that time we went on that big adventure? Yeah, that's great, dude. That's great. But for some reason, all of my memories come from the little things, like the daily stuff. Like, I think what happens is life gets so carried away that people think that you need to have this gigantic break from the daily grind in order to establish memories. And I kind of disagree with that. I don't believe that. I believe that memories are made and legacies are made on how, for example, like my kids I hope they don't just remember, oh my God, dad took us or mom and dad took us on vacation this one time to Florida, and that was the only memory they have or something like that.
Yeah.
Dude, I think legacies are built on the caring and compassion that I gave them since they were born. And, dad was this every single day. Dad was stern, but he made us smile. Dad was, he laid down the law when we were assholes. But he always came back and he said, hey, you know why I was mad at you? This is why. And I don't like being mad at you, and all of those types of things. And just kind of like teaching kids how to live as adults. Right. Yeah. And I think it's more important to, like, for example, I use this example a lot where my oldest boy and well, now my youngest boy too, I can say, like, they've started opening doors for people. Right. And where did they get that from? They got that from me.
Right.
Right. When they see me, I could have easily walked right in the store, but instead I open the door and someone behind me gets to go in before me, and they get to see that on the daily basis. And even just like, hey, playing catch in the front yard or going on a golf cart ride. Our town is a golf cart community. So a lot of people have golf carts, and we cruise the streets, and we go out into the country a little bit, and we get to see the deer and the frogs and all the wildlife. Yeah. And we have those conversations, and it's the little things that I think matter the most when it comes to that. And so that would be the first part of that conversation. But when it comes to that hunting and the outdoors, because we don't get to go fishing every day and we don't get to go hunting every single day. And so when my oldest boy is now, like, he doesn't want to play football this fall. He wants to go hunting. And when I hear that, I'm just like, okay, like internally, I'm like, are you sure, bud? A lot of your friends are going to be doing it. He's like, no, I'd just rather go fishing and hunting and things like that. And I'm like, okay. And so they say that enough to where this will be my first year since my kids have been in sports that I have not coached a football team. Like, I'm not going to coach football because I would rather spend time, with my favorite people doing my favorite thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to live in those types of moments now where it gets hard, but also understand that those moments are rare. So I do want to make them special, but I also understand that the daily activities are the foundation of life, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I love that, man. I mean, like, I love what you said about just kind of the small moments, and that's kind of what we need in hunting. Like, am I going to remember the big hunt I went on, especially if it was successful? Yeah. Of course. And I'm going to remember all those, the funny and the hard moments and the moments I didn't feel like doing it. I'm going to remember all that.
Yeah.
And of course you want to have those experiences, but then I look back to when I was like 12, 13, 14, and when hunting was just like a lot of fun, because you knew, I mean, deep down, like, you wanted to kill something, but you knew you probably weren't going to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can remember the first like year or two that I hunted, my dad didn't want me to go on a tree stand because I was pretty small, you know?
Yeah.
And he was like, they used old loggy bayou climbers, you know? And so every time we'd go out, I'd either sit at the base of a tree or on a log or something. And sometimes it was with my dad or my uncle, or sometimes it wasn't. And I can remember seeing my first deer with my dad. Or I remember one time we were hunting in January, my uncle and I. It was like the last day of we have like a flintlock and archery season in January. And we were hunting in the evening, and these 8 doe ran up to us, and they were like 5 yards from this log we were sitting on, and we're sitting in the middle of nothing. And he's just like sitting there with his muzzleloader over his lap, like, oh, it's your turn, you know? And my arrow is just clacking against the side of the bow. It's all those little, of course, I didn't even get to draw the bow because I was making too much, but it's all those small moments that you kind of remember when you get to where we're at, is like, This is where I started, and this is why I like to do it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I love that your kids are, well, before I say that, I was homeschooled. So anytime my uncle called me, it's kind of like when you're like, hey, Aaron, do you have time for a podcast? I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Talk to you in an hour. That's kind of what hunting was like for me when I was a kid. I'd be like, my uncle would call me and be like, you want to go this afternoon? And yeah, I do. I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah.
And then I'd just be like, Mom, I'm going hunting. She's like, well, you didn't finish your school. I'm like, yeah, I did. You know,
Yeah.
It's all good. But I love that your kids are kind of at that point where they are so interested in it, they'd rather spend time with dad. Not that it's obviously healthy for them to have friends, but it's good for them to learn from you. It's like pretty obvious, but what are you most excited about with that?
For you, just in general, or for
just
like
getting to spend like some serious time hunting with your kids because they're like stoked about it.
Dude, anytime I get to hang out with my kids is my favorite part of the day, my family. Just like the older I get, the more I understand how important family is. And that love for my family grows every single day, whether it is, especially at these ages. My daughter's 13 right now. In 5 years, she'll be out of the house. That's scary to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, same.
And so I just hope that what I've built for my kids, and what I mean by that is a foundation of kindness and love and courtesy and like all of the positive things. At the same time, how to identify shitty people and how to identify bad things in this world. And, you know, like, so let's not be honest. You probably know people, and maybe you even have an example, you know, being homeschooled. Probably, I'm guessing there were some things that you had to learn outside of this that some kids may have learned in public school about social awkwardness, or you know, learning how to read a person to know if they're trying to take advantage of you or actually be your friend or things like that. You know what I mean? So like, I'm trying to teach them to lead with love and kindness, but also be aware. And so I know that like what I'm looking forward to is being able to spend as much time as possible with them between now and when I become an empty nester. And so the one thing that I always think about, especially I'll be completely honest, man, like I grinded my ass off to get to this point in my life right now from my job, right? So I worked building this till like 1, 2 in the morning sometimes, then get back up right at 6 to get back to a real job and all that stuff. And so all that hard work now has led to some sort of stability in my professional life, so that there's weeks where I don't necessarily put in 40 hours a week, right? But I'm doing that to spend time with my kids now, so that dude, I can always work later, right? Like I can work when they're out of the house. I'll be 55 or whatever, and still have plenty of time to work, right? And so like I just live with this mindset. A couple things. One is faith, a little faith. I've had like a big transition in my life over the past like 2 years, where I've really started getting back into my faith, reading the Bible and trying to find what is actually important in this world. And so my family is is a top priority. And I'm not that guy who values possessions or a big bank account. I value time with the people that I love. And so I'm trying to focus on that aspect of my life right now.
Yeah, I hear that, man. And like, sometimes it's hard as hunters, because we do want to have those successful hunts. Like we do like the skulls and the shoulder mounts hanging on our wall, and the fun story that we get to tell our buddies. And sometimes it gets a little cloudy, but then, like I told you before that I think I told you this. I got to take my daughter turkey hunting this year. It was her first time being the shooter, and she missed the bird.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the highlight of my last 2 years of hunting. You know what I mean? Like, and she didn't even kill the bird. It was just that moment that we got to share, and like how excited she was. And I think about, but then that's what I kind of had the idea to talk to you about this stuff. Cause then I thought about like, well, what was it like for my dad? You know what I mean? Like when I shot my first deer with my bow, I was with my uncle. What was it like for my uncle teaching a kid how to shoot stuff? My dad was with me when I shot my first deer,
Yeah.
There's like a youth season in October for rifle for youth. Mm-hmm. And I remember him just like, I didn't have a rest, and he always thought I needed a rest. Well, I was like leaned against the tree, and he had his hand out like this, like, just put your gun on my hand. And his hand's going like this, like just, and the deer was like 30 yards away. You know what I mean? Right. Like it wasn't going anywhere, but it's all those like little fun moments that I'm having every now and then I get to have with my daughter, and I get to think about like, man, then I went through this phase where all I cared about is killing a big buck so I could show it off. I mean, it wasn't all that. Like I did want to do I wanted the difficult challenge of trying to kill a big buck on public land. And I still do, like, if I can find one, but I'm not opposed to just having a fun hunt,
Yeah.
Kind of just going back to that. What are some of the things that you look back on like that, Dan?
Oh, what do I look back on? I look back on how crazy I was. Back from like 2006 to 2014-ish time frame, where it was hardcore run and gun, like trail cameras out, 2 weeks for the rut. Like but at the same time, that this 10-year period, so I look at my hunting career, if you want to call it, as 2 10-year periods.
Yeah.
The first one, so there's pre and post 2006. Pre 2006 is me learning about deer. Yeah. Learning deer hunting. Learning well, that actually went to 2016. Really is what it did. I think, 2016. Yeah. And then so not 2006.
Yeah.
2016, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if it was 2000. Yeah, 2016 is when I started my consistency pattern.
Yeah.
Right. And I killed some really good bucks before that, but it was more luck than it was skill.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I was learning woodsmanship. I was, using trail cameras to locate deer, move in on them, and fail and fail and fail. And just, dude, you want to know how many times back in the time in Iowa where there were just gigantic bucks walking around all the time. Yeah. And those days are over now, but dude, I messed up on some freaking giants. Like there's one that comes to mind, like 100 and he was a typical 12, 180, 190 inch typical 12. I messed up on him. I messed up on several Boone and Crockett deer over that time frame. A couple even like 1 200 incher, just like freaks, right? And so all of that led to this 2016 time period where it started to click. And all of the things that I learned the previous, 10 or 15 years started coming into play, where it was like thermals check, wind check, temperature check, time of year check, terrain check, food source check. Like, and it's just, the calculating in my brain started moving faster. I wasn't over processing things where I would like sit there and debate on what tree stand. There's like, I got 3 tree stands for south winds. What do I do? Oh my God. If I pick this one and he shows up here, this sucks. And at 2016, I just it was more binary. It was yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so in 2016 is when everything started clicking for me. And it was like, boom, got him, boom, got him, boom, got him. And it just, and I got closer to deer. I moved off field edges, and I was, I didn't care about seeing a ton of deer. I just wanted to see one deer.
Mm-hmm.
At that point. And so just like the mindset shifted, the strategy shifted, and everything became easier because I had more knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And we can all learn this stuff at a pretty accelerated rate, and it can get easier. I think the one thing that I've like realized over the last maybe 5 years, I messed up on a real big PA buck. It's not an Iowa buck, but he was like a 145 10-inch or a 10 point. And I shot him through the brisket, and he ended up living. But I remember not really having a whole lot of fun until that day that I saw him that year. Cause I was like, I did that. Like, oh, we had like maybe 4 good bucks that I really liked on camera. Like we had a lot in like the mid 120s and whatever, which I would have killed happily. But we had like maybe 4 that were over 130. Yeah. And it was a lot less than we've had. Like there was people kind of moving in on that area, and it was a lot less that we had in the past. And I remember stressing about that so much, being like, there's only like a third of the bucks that we normally have like this size on camera. Like what the heck is going on? And like, just like pretty like worked up about it.
Yeah.
And I remember that morning I ended up like, when it got light, I remember there's a small buck like feeding near me or whatever. And I grunted him in from like 80 yards. And I was like, I'm just going to shoot that deer. And he was tiny. And I went to draw on him on this spike buck, comes running in, chases him off. And I'm like, you know what? This is kind of fun. Like I'm getting to see what deer do. And I started to just in that moment after being like worked up, this was November 1st. I was like worked up all year about all this, not having deer, not seeing that much, like worried about this stuff. And I'm like, man, now you're forgetting to have fun. Yeah. And right when I thought that 10-pointer dropped off a hill, started working a scrape, and I grunted him in. I thought he was in my 20 lane and he was in 30. And that's why I ended up shooting him low. But then I just remember like, dude, you gotta just relax and have fun.
Yeah.
And, now I'm like, I still hang trail cameras. I still do all the same stuff, but I'm a lot less worried about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't even have any trail cameras out right now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Neither do I. I think a lot of this has to do with age.
Yeah.
Because for me, like when you're young, maybe it's ego. And some people out there may go, I don't have an ego. Okay, that's great. But there's this thing where, number one, you realize how big the universe really is. And then you also realize how insignificant you as a whole are in the universe, like how small you are. And then, a little sprinkle in some faith talk there, but
you were listening to Louis Giglio, weren't you?
I don't know who Louis Giglio is.
All right. Well, I'll have to share it with you because what you just said is a sermon from Louis Giglio and you'll like it.
Okay. And so, but what you realize is just to even exist is something completely special. And so, and then you like, I start to realize like, my God, I have a house. My country isn't getting bombed right now. My city is not, there's no soldiers walking the streets and drones are diving into homes and exploding and things like that. And then you realize like just to even be sitting in a tree stand and enjoying God's creation is something amazing. Like who gets to do this?
Yeah.
Who gets to do this? Yeah. And so now it just like, I'm not a brown it's down hunter. anymore. Like I'm not that guy yet. Last year, I kind of, I had two really good deer disappear on me that were very consistent on my farm. And I think they were killed by, on the neighbor's farm.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, it's just like it, like, and so the 120 incher that I shot last year, 120 inch 8-pointer that I shot last year, just caught me in kill mode, basically.
Yeah.
And so I shot, 120 inch 3-year-old, which typically I pass those types of deer, but I shot him because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And it felt
absolutely.
good. And so like I am all for individual moments right now. And if it feels good, that moment felt good to me. Something cool happened. He came down. There was a fawn, like a button buck that I think he thought was a doe, and he came barreling off this hillside, and he started grunting and pushing this button buck, and then he found out it wasn't a doe, and then he kind of chilled in my area for a little bit, and he offered me a shot opportunity, and it was week 2 of the rut, and so I took it. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's all about moments now for me, and not necessarily about the gigantic antlers, which I'll eventually go after at some point this year. And maybe I'll shoot something, maybe I won't, but there's some does that are going to be in trouble this year for me. As far as, like
for the brown it's down thing, man, there's plenty of doe tags around the country.
Exactly. So I think I'm gonna fill the freezer this year. I'm gonna enjoy every moment that I have, because at some point, for any hunter, and I don't want to like make this sound as a downer, there will be a last time you climb out of a tree stand.
Yeah. And you don't really know when it is,
Yep.
Like, you could have knee surgery and then get in a car accident later on, or you could have whatever it happens to be. You just don't know when it is going to be.
Could be old age too, man.
Could be old age.
Could be old age. Like,
yeah, it could be old age.
I don't know too many 80-year-olds that are climbing up in tree stands anymore.
Nope. Nope. Or even sitting in ground blinds,
Yeah.
I like, actually, I recently did a podcast with a guest that'll drop next week, and it's a really, his life and some of the things that happened to him, that he went through. Hunting was one of those things that really kind of helped him turn a corner with whether it be adding some fun goals to his life or something to look forward to and achieve. But he really kind of turned his life around with it. And I'm excited. I guess it doesn't really matter because your episode will drop afterwards, but it was with Hunter McWaters. And his story is pretty crazy, man. Like, he went through some serious dark times where he was a drug addict and severely overweight, and just like now he's jacked and he's a full-time content creator,
Yep.
And he was talking about how his faith, we were talking about, there's a time sometimes and I find that most people do this when they go to college, right? Where you're really into hunting as a kid, and then when you go to college, maybe you kind of just dabble a little bit because you're busy with studies and that kind of thing. And then,
or you mean alcohol and women?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, alcohol and women. That's all right.
That was my like,
you're clear.
That's what I did when I went to college. I don't know if I learned anything in college.
My college was a little accelerated. Since I went to nursing school, it was 2 years, and it was pretty intense. But I still got into plenty of trouble.
Yep.
But I guess, what was cool for him is he said that he always kind of noticed with the way that hunting and faith were, like, he was always a Christian, but often he found himself paralleling the two. Like, if his interest and goal orientation would drift away from hunting, it would also kind of drift away from God, because he was kind of, following whatever he felt like doing. Yeah. Was there ever a moment where maybe you could have been worse, but hunting was something that really helped keep you from getting into more trouble than you got in?
Oh, dude. You know how hard it is to get up at 4 a.m. after drinking until 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
So like, That 100% that I don't know. That's my story.
Yeah.
Like in 2000 and I don't even remember what year was it. It would have had to have been 2005 ish time frame, 2006 ish. I mean, it's all I was doing, just drinking and staying up late. And like, I was that bum. I was that guy you look at. That dude lives with his parents still. Like, I got laid off from it. My song, my life was a country song. No joke. And then one day I went up into a tree stand, and I don't know if I saw much deer movement that night, but I, okay, so I don't know if you've ever drank this, like got into like alcoholic status, but when you drink so much for so long, so many days in a row, you're drinking to fight hangovers,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of drinking. And
Mm-hmm.
then you get anxiety attacks because you're drinking so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was having one of those anxiety moments where I knew I shouldn't drink anymore because the alcohol was solving the problem, but causing the problem at the same time. Solving it meaning
Mm-hmm.
making the hangover go away and
Yeah.
the anxiety go away. But then when I would stop, the hangovers became worse and the anxiety became worse and the shakes would happen and all that stuff. So anyway, I decided that night to go out into the woods. And so I was sitting in a tree stand, and it was this like beautiful October day,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful October day. And it was cool. It was crisp. There wasn't much deer movement. Uh, I don't know. Like, I don't remember. Maybe I saw a couple does that night, but it was in like the peak of leaf season. And so as the sun's going down, all these maple trees around me started illuminating light, right? And it was like
Mm-hmm.
this orangish yellow light. And I just had this moment with nature. Really, it was with God, come to find out it was. And basically saying, you need to do more of this,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to do this as much as you possibly can. Now, don't get me wrong, that didn't completely 180 my life and I quit drinking and quit, the behaviors that I did, but it started to slow it down. And
Yeah.
I was making decisions in my life to focus on hunting and not the other bad behaviors, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. So
Yeah.
essentially, it kind of course corrected the ship just a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. And then so as I became more serious about it, I was making, hey, dude, before work, you got to go check some trail cameras, or before, Saturday is your only time to go out and do this. So Friday night, you can go out, but you might want to be home by at least midnight so that you can get up early enough. Don't drink so much because you have a big hike in to go put these trail cameras up, or check SD cards, or go move tree stands, or do all these things that were deer related, or shoot your bow, right? Because shooting your bow with a hangover sucks.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't focus at all if you have a hangover. Sitting in a tree stand sucks with a hangover.
Yeah.
Whether it's hot or cold or whatever. And so, long story short, it was just the hunting made me do less of that and less of that and less of that. And then you add in children in that, and then now I'm doing less of that and less of that. And then most of the drinking continued at home after the kids were in bed,
Mm-hmm.
and until recently, where now I've haven't had a drop of alcohol in over a year. So
Yeah. Yeah. Dead on Display Euro mounting system, by far the best Euro mounting hanger on the market. I have all my mounts on them, including an elk skull, and it holds that thing to the wall solid. I do also like the angle bracket for the whitetails. It gives them a real nice look, and it helps preserve one of your memories for a lifetime. So check them out, deadondisplay.com. You can find them on Instagram as well. Most of my low moments in life were related to drinking alcohol. I've never
yeah.
made it to, I think, being a nurse helped me uh, maintained me from being an alcoholic because I take care of so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's pretty awful to watch.
Yeah.
And I think this is, kind of a cool subject, because I think a lot of, there's, I would guess that there's probably going to be a dad that listens to this that's dealing with alcoholism and is like, how can I use these different tools in my life to kind of, make it more motivational for me? And I think that, hopefully it is your kids and your family that motivate you.
Yeah.
But sometimes the stress of kids and family is what I understand drives some dads to think that alcohol is solving their problem, when they really need to either, hit the gym or hit the woods or dig a little harder into something that they enjoy, to get that kind of like peaceful area of their life or whatever it is, whatever it is. But you kind of said that, hunting and your kids and those kind of things are what helped you do less and less. What did you have to go through when you were, because if you're to the point where you're having shakes, man, like that's kind of, that's withdrawal,
Oh yeah. 100%.
What did you have to do to get through those physical things? Because I think that some people are really afraid of that often.
I just gut it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, I can remember coming back from, this was probably the worst. I was living in a town. I had no friends. I moved there for a job. So I was leaving every weekend to go hang out, in Wisconsin, where one of my buddies lived, or I would drive all the way to Des Moines. So I was like, it was just far away.
Yeah.
And so I can just remember getting crushed all weekend long, and driving back home, and the anxieties just was kicking in, and I was chugging Gatorade to try to, oh God, and then spiraling. You're just like, your mind in those moments just goes to worst case scenario. And long story short, it was just like, hey dude, buy a beer at a gas station and drink it on the way home. It'll take the edge off. And then you get there and you're just like, okay, well, man, that didn't really do, that beer kind of wore off. Maybe I grab another beer. And then really what it is it's just moments where you're like, of realization that kind of kick in. And you're like, dude, you're drinking. I think at one point I was drinking anywhere from like, there were days where I was drinking 12 beers after work, And so you're going, dude, you're drinking 12 beers a day, or you're drinking, like there was a period of time where, I would, this is, then I would slow down a little bit. Then I would kind of catch back up, and then I would slow down a bit. But really what the end all be all for me was, you crack that beer. For me, it was this, even if it wasn't 12 beers a day when I started having kids. It was, okay, I'm going to have a beer. And I'd sit on the couch, and the second that alcohol hit my lips, I was in relaxation, don't bother me mode. Okay. And so my kids would be like, Daddy, play with me. And I'd be like, I'll play with you in a little bit, and I'd never play with them. Right. Or, hey, Dad, let's go shoot hoops or play catch. No, Daddy's tired, whatever,
Yeah.
And so I realized, like, okay, I can't drink when my kids are up. So I just pushed everything back. So the kids are in bed. Then I had a beer. Well, that beer was good. I have no responsibilities right now. Let me have another beer. Well, I had 2 beers. That bottle of bourbon looks real good now. It looks, I'm watching my shows on TV or whatever, and now that one bourbon turns into 2 bourbons, turns into 3 bourbons, turns into the next morning you're just like struggling to wake up.
Yeah.
And then finally it was just like, me and my wife had a conversation with each other, like, let's be done, and we're done. And so really it was like, I don't even know how many years I was not the best version of myself because of alcohol. You know what I mean? And some people chug entire bottles of vodka at multiple, like I never got to that point, but alcohol was impacting my life.
Yeah.
And so to me, that is that's alcoholism.
Yeah. 100%.
If alcohol, if a substance is controlling or affecting your life in any way, shape, or form, you have a problem with it.
Yeah.
And so I realized it over the years, and I tried to slow down, and then I would pick back up. And then you have another realization for it's like, I had my first sip of alcohol at like 13 or 14 years old. First time I ever got drunk was, and I can remember laying in my bed at my dad's house watching the ceiling fan and thinking I was going to throw up, right? At like 15 or 16. And then from that point all the way until, last year, think of how much time I wasted drinking when I could have been doing some cool shit out in the woods, or as soon as I got my license, I could have been going out west and adventures and going on different types of hunts. But instead, I chose booze. Yeah. And so I don't know if that answered your question or not, but
no, it does, dude. Because like I said, what I really want to do with this episode is I do have, I have a lot of dads that listen, and I have some younger kids that like some teenagers that listen. And I hope what they're getting from this is like, I mean, like there were plenty of influential people in our lives that said drinking is bad or whatever, but they didn't really, when it came to the bad stuff, they never said, don't do it because I never did it. They would never like say like, hey man, because me personally, like I haven't struggled with alcoholism per se, but I've struggled with moments where I did drink or where I was like, man, you're eating like trash, and you're going home and you're drinking all that, you're drinking that alcohol, and then you feel like crap the next day. You don't want to get up, and you don't want to like, I could wake up and go fish for smallmouth, or I could be a whole lot more productive. And I think for the right person, maybe drinking is a relaxing thing where you can just have one. And I'm kind to that point. Like maybe I can just have one at night, and I usually I just don't really like to drink that much. So
yeah. I had that thought the other day. I don't know where we were at, but it was hot out. I mean, it was hot. And I saw somebody drinking a can of Busch Light, and that's what I was drinking. That's what I used to drink. And I'm like, dude, that would taste so good right now. Like this heat, ice cold beer. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But the reality kicked in for me, and the more mature part of my brain kicked in and goes, well, you know what the end of that is. Yeah. Because you're not having one.
And
you're having two.
Yeah. Maybe you would for a little while.
Yeah, maybe.
But then it would just turn into what you did before.
Exactly.
Like
100%.
Where you sat on the couch and was like, well, I already had one. I can have another one. It's fine. Yeah. And then half a bottle of bourbon is gone, and you're like, had all these great plans for tomorrow, and tomorrow doesn't happen because you messed it up tonight.
Exactly. 100%.
And I think that's, kind of what I'm getting to is like, if you're a dad dealing with this stuff, you need to deal with it now and fast, so you don't waste the time that you talked about. What about the time that I could have had?
Yeah.
Like, I hope you're listening to this and you don't have to hit the time where the time that you could have had. You get to have the time that you get to have. And then if you're like a teenager listening to this and you'd be like, oh yeah, it won't happen to me. It's gonna, like,
something will test you in your life.
Exactly. Test you. You will be tested at some point. And I hope that you rise to the occasion. And I hope it's in part because after hearing this, or maybe even before hearing this, you started thinking about what you're going to do when that happens, you know? Yeah. What would you tell, if there are teenagers listening to this, what would you tell teenagers right now? Like, hey, this is what you can do to combat that kind of stuff early.
Yeah.
Cause it's hard for kids, like
the good news is that drinking as a whole is going down.
Yeah.
Kids are understanding that drinking's not as cool as what it sounds. And I think actual social media, which I hate, still like plays a role in that, right? Where there's more, it's cooler to be sober than it is being some drunk, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I was going to talk to a kid, and I'll use an example from my life, okay? So I was in high school, and I'd drink. You know, there was times that I would even come to school. Like me and a buddy on Fridays, we had an open period, lunch, and then another open period, or lunch, open period, and I would have to come back for eighth period, which was the last class of the day.
Yeah.
So we would get beer and we would drink and play video games and then come back to school for the last. Anyway, so we would take beer bottle caps. This was the cool thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we would poke a hole on the sides of the beer bottle cap. Mm-hmm. And then we would take our shoestrings out and we would put the beer bottle cap as like a toggle on the bottom lace of the shoe. And then we would sip, and that would be what some of us would do. Right. And looking back, I'm like, so stupid. Teachers didn't necessarily notice, but I can remember one time I was sitting front row of a assembly. And in this assembly was some guy who came and was talking about drugs and alcohol and how he lost his best friend in a car accident and all this stuff. And I was just like, God, what a loser. Like what, this guy's such a loser. His buddy is a loser. Like, dude, I got it all figured out. I'm this arrogant teenager. Like I'm a senior in high school. I drink every weekend. Nothing bad's going to happen to me. Blah, 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 you know, just like all bullshit. Right. And the guy stopped and looked at me and he pointed at he looked at my shoes and he looked at me and he's just kind of like, right. He didn't call me out or anything. He just kind of looked at my shoes, then looked at me. And he knew I'm not the first guy like that he encountered where, you know, like I'm whatever. And so what I look at, what I tell my kids now, my message isn't necessarily for the kids. It could be. It's more for the dads where nobody ever talked to me about drugs and alcohol. All they said was don't do it. Right. No one ever said, you know, like, hey, it's going to ruin your life, or you got to be able to have control of it, because if you don't have control of it, then it will ruin your life. Like there's nothing wrong. Like I actually envy people who can go drink 1 or 2 beers on the back deck after, or be active with their kids while they're consuming a fresh beverage. Like I envy that. I can't do that though.
Yeah.
And so my message for those people would be like, I've been through that, and I'm extremely blunt with my kids where I'm honest, upfront, hard. I don't sugarcoat anything with my kids, almost to get them to be like a shock tactic where like, so I have this giant scar. I don't know, you probably can't see it because of the lighting, but I have a giant scar on my arm where senior year in high school, me and my buddy got into a car, wrecked it, rolled it, almost died. And we got lucky. And I have this giant scar on my arm from that accident. I almost bled to death, trying to run from the cops. And so, and then finally I started losing energy and telling my buddy, dude, I got to get to a hospital because I think I'm going to pass out. That's because of blood loss. Anyway, I tell those stories and I go, I drank alcohol. I got into a car. I almost died. Yeah. Right. I show them the picture. Like I have a picture in here, and I'm blunt with them. I'm just like, you can't. Also, my boys are very, my kids are very athletics focused. You drink, this all goes away. Yeah. Right. I was a decent football player. Just imagine if I didn't drink alcohol in high school and I focused on lifting weights or training instead of drinking, how much better I would have been. Yeah. Maybe I could have went to college and played football somewhere, but instead I chose a different life. Yeah. And I like drinking till you black out and all this stuff. And I tell them. Like I just tell them straight up all of the bad things, pros and cons. We do that a lot in my house. What's the pros and cons of this decision? What happens if you do that? And you start to weigh things out, and then you find out there's more cons with it than there is. And so, you know, I just am just like, hey, dude, alcohol's not worth it because it ruined my life. It ruined a big chunk of my life. Now, here's where the other part of that comes in is like, I can't sit here and have that conversation with you right now unless I didn't go through that.
Right.
So maybe it was designed for me to go through that.
Yeah.
So that I can now tell you the bad, like all of the cons of this, so that you then can make better decisions and go, well, dude, my dad went through some really crazy times with alcohol. Maybe I don't need to go through those.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe my test will come somewhere else. And then I'm going to be able to learn from those mistakes and things like that. And so, especially my daughter, dude, you want to know, this is the scary part. Back in the day, this was obviously before social media, right? I drank in high school, so by the time I got to college, I was very comfortable with alcohol. And I can remember my dad handed me $100 bill the first day of college, and he goes, "Use this for groceries. Go have fun with it, whatever you want." And so, what did I do? Back then, a 30-pack of beer was like $10.
Right.
And so I went and bought 2 30-packs, put them in the trunk of my car, and then snuck them into the dorms, and I made friends that night, right?
Right.
But I was hanging out with guys who had never drank alcohol before, and they felt like that first, this was I'm a college, I'm independent now, I'm gonna drink some beer. Dude, all those guys were throwing up by the end of the night, right?
Yeah.
In toilets and shit. And I was like, damn, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know where that story was leading, but other than, I don't know, just a lot of wasted time when I could have been doing something different.
Yeah, dude, I do. What you were saying is I do truly believe it is by design, because, hopefully right now, just this conversation that we're having helps somebody, helps a dad, helps a teenager, whatever it happens to be. And I hope that they don't have to go through that stuff. I was kind of the same way. Like I, I started drinking when I was like 17, you know what I mean? And, I didn't, like I said, I never got, like, I'm at a point now where I maybe can have a beer or something, and then I can walk away from it. And I'm very happy about that kind of thing. But I just feel like what you said about, I could have been lifting weights, I could have been a better football player. If you're listening to this, it's because you like to hunt and fish. Probably. And you could be really, really good at that stuff. The thing about alcohol, Dan, that I've always noticed is, even at the most fun times, you forget those times so easy. They're not permanent. They're not real, And if you, like, if I chose to party and I was planning on hunting the next day, then decided to not go hunt the next day because I'm hungover, that hunt was probably something I was going to get to remember, and something that mattered, and an accomplishment that I can kind of look back on, because a lot of this stuff isn't easy. I mean, like you said, you could have been driving out west and shooting elk or at an earlier age, or whatever it happens to be. And if that's something that you want to do, I've got buddies now that are like, I'm not drinking because I'm running a triathlon or whatever it happens to be. You're not going to do that stuff. And that stuff is not temporary. That stuff is stuff that carries with you, whether it's for healthy reasons, whether it's because maybe you like to grill venison all year long, or whatever it happens to be. Like, that stuff has a lot more permanency and a lot more meaning to it than you partied and you were throwing up in the toilet by the end of the night,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Don't get me wrong. I think that there was periods of time within that where I did have a lot of fun with my friends while I was drinking.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of memories there, some really fun, awesome, exciting memories there. That I'm not a huge believer of going back to change things.
Yeah. Same.
Because it made me who I am today.
Yep.
And I think I'm a better father because of all of that shit that I
Yes.
went through.
Yes.
If I didn't go through that, then I can't talk to my kids about what to do and what not to do in certain scenarios.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, dude.
Yeah.
So what's your plan for this season? Is your son going out with you, hanging trail cameras and getting ready to shoot a big one? What's he doing?
So my youngest boy this year, so me and my oldest boy were talking about, he's already got a doe under his belt from last year. And so we were in the car and he's like, "Hey, Dad, are we going hunting this year?" I'm like, "Yeah, bud." He's like, "I want a buck this year." I'm like, "Okay, hold your horses." He's like, I'm
not Tony Peterson here. Come on.
Exactly. He's like, I want a big buck. And I'm just like, okay, well, because his best friend down the street, his grandpa took him to a private piece with a box blind and a little food plot, and a buck showed up, and he was able to kill a decent deer for his first deer ever, right?
Yeah.
And so my son got a doe, and I had to play dude, you just provided meat for the family card, right? When in all actuality, we don't give a shit about that, right? He wants antlers on the wall because he gets to see all of mine, right? And so he's like, "Dad, I want a buck. And I'm like, "Okay, well, let's see what we can do here." And then my youngest boy is like, "Dad, I want to come hunting with you this year." And he's 8. And I'm like, okay. But buddy, I don't think you're big enough to shoot the gun yet. He's like, "Well, I want to go and try." He's very determined. Like if there's something that he wants to do, he'll ask first, we'll say no, and then he'll go and do it anyway. Right. And then it's funny, my youngest boy, he does not lie to us.
Yeah.
But he still does the bad thing.
Right.
Like sometimes. And then I'll ask him, I go, "Hey, bud, did you do this?" And he goes, "Yes, I did." And like never lies, admits to everything.
Yeah,
but still does it, right? I'm like, "Hey, buddy, it's like 9 o'clock. Hey, I want to go down to the end of the street and play wiffle ball." "No, it's too late. It's getting dark out." I hear the door close, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, so that's that kind of kid. So now I got to walk down the street. I'm like, "I told you no." Yeah. "Sorry, Dad."
Had to do it.
Yeah, I want to play wiffle ball. Anyway, so now he wants to get involved. My daughter, I took her last year, and she just said to me, "I like turkey hunting, but I don't want to deer hunt anymore because I don't feel comfortable killing those animals." And I'm like, "Okay, I can respect that. Whatever." So now I'll just trade her for the 2 boys, and now we got to come up with a game plan about taking, I got to get to the shooting range here, after baseball season's over, and start putting rounds through them for them through the gun. And we'll just kind of see what happens.
I know this guy. Well, I met a guy not so long ago that he was teaching a lot of youth hunters, and I guess he was loading like subsonic 243 rounds. So it basically doesn't have a whole lot much more recoil than a 22.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a pretty darn good idea, because they don't care when a deer's in front of them, you know. But that's kind of how that thing goes. That's exciting, man.
Yeah.
2 boys. Are you going to try to take them both out at the same time, or kind of like give them each their own days?
It just depends. Like, really, really what is going to happen is I'm going to probably take my oldest boy out.
Yeah.
For the most time. My youngest boy, he'll want to come, and I think what I'm going to do is just maybe go on an early October archery hunt with him.
Yeah.
And find a tree stand and just maybe shoot the first deer that walks by, first doe that walks by, and try to find a spot where I can wedge him into a tree stand and sit up there, find a way to hook him to the tree, climb up a ladder stand or something, and get him there. But I don't think he's old enough quite yet to shoot the gun.
Yeah.
Because he's smaller than, because he's only 8 compared to my son who was 10.
Yeah.
Right. When they went out. So I'm trying to figure all this out.
Yeah. I hear that. Dude, thanks so much for coming on. Where do you want people to find all your stuff?
You can just go to sportsmansempire.com. That's where all of the network content gets put out, not just from me, but from all of the other podcasters that provide content to the network. So
yeah, lots of great content on there. So check it out. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a wrap. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. I hope this episode helped you in some way. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. If you would, go check out Sportsman's Empire. The links are in the show notes. Check out Nine Finger Chronicles and the 1800 podcast that Dan has, because they're all good and they're all fun. If you would, leave InCamp Podcast a rating or a review wherever you listen. Click the little stars. I really appreciate that so much, but I really enjoy seeing the comments when I get them, and I love to get the messages from all of you and questions, answers, and just swapping stories sometimes. So thanks so much for listening week after week. I greatly appreciate it. This is InCamp Podcast.